Okay, one more function to write, add suffixes, and then we'll be done with this bird. So we're given the start location. We recover the location in which we want to place the anchor letter, which is start at the start and then add in however much of the prefix we have. It could be the empty string, could be more. If the prefix is already a word, then we want to add in a possible play. The play is starting in the start location, we put in this word. But there's also this test. And this test says we want to make sure that we've at least anchored the prefix. And what does that mean? Well, if we go back to our diagram, if we're right here, we get passed in to add suffixes, the prefix BE. Well, that is in fact a word. BE is in our dictionary. But we wouldn't want to say, well, the answer is BE, because that's not a play. That was already on the board. We can't say our play is we're making this word that's already there. We've got to add at least one letter. And so that's why when we were defining row plays, we said we're adding suffixes, but we haven't anchored it yet. So anchored is equal to false. We haven't anchored our potential prefix so far, so don't go reporting that prefix as a valid play. Now, in the definition of add suffixes, we say, okay, if it's the first time through, we're not anchored, so we're not going to return BE as a possible play. But when I do a recursive call to add suffix, I'll just have the default value, and anchored will be true. I will have played on the anchor, and then I'll be okay from then on. One additional test here is saying if there are existing letters already on the board and you're bumping into them, then you have to count them. So if there's a letter already there, don't report everything up to that letter. And that's taking care of this case. When we get up to this C, we can't report, we can't like say put a T here and have BET and report that by itself as a word, because the T is running into the C. So we got to continue and see what words can we have that we have to account this C here. Okay, so that takes care of adding in the play. Now, whether or not we found a valid play to add to our list of results, we still want to say, are we going to continue? Can we keep going to the right, adding on more letters? Well, if the pre we have so far is within the prefixes, then yes, we do want to try to continue. And what we'll do is say, tell me what square is in the current position in the row. If it's a letter, try to add suffixes to that, to the prefix we have so far plus the letter. If there's a letter already on the board, it's mandatory that we have to use it. Otherwise, if the square is empty, then we want to figure out what are all the possible letters that we could place into that empty square. If the square is an anchor, then the anchor will tell us what the possibilities are. And remember, an anchor is a set of possible letters. So if the square is an anchor, let's use that as a set of possibilities. Otherwise, if the square is empty and it's not an anchor, then any letter is a possibility. So now we just go through our letters in our hand and say, if that letter is a possibility, then we want to add a new suffix by saying, let's place that letter onto the prefix, remove the letter from our hand, and continue adding suffixes from there. And when we're done with that, return the results. So that's it. Now we're done with that bird, but let's go back, look at our test routine. We had these tests for legal prefix. Now if we go into our interpreter and we run row plays with the given hand and the row, that's this row where the hand is A, B, C, E, H, K, N, and this is the result we get. That's an awesome result. Look, we got the backbench that we saw before. We got all these smaller words. We can go through and we can check that each of these makes sense. They are the right ones. They don't run into any letters or do anything wrong. It's harder to check that we got all of them right, but we can still go ahead and make this an assertion. And when we run this, all the tests pass and life is good.